The Johnson & Johnson Corporate Credo, Paragraph 4. Research must be carried on, innovative programs developed, and mistakes paid for. This is the participant of a Johnson & Johnson Stelara clinical trial. On the left, you see pictures from before the clinical trial, and on the right, you see pictures from 3 months after the clinical trial. Meet Tony Viscosi. This is Tony. He's a great guy. He was born November 13th, 1967 in California. He was a flawlessly healthy child who grew into a strong, healthy, productive man. Tony was active with family and friends, church, volunteering, education. Tony was always socially active and responsible. This is Tony at age 32, when he was diagnosed with psoriasis. Tony's psoriasis was identical to his dad's psoriasis. His dad, who's now retired, he's over 65, has 10 to 15% coverage plaque psoriasis as when he was 35. His psoriasis has remained steady for over 30 years. His dad has good relief from UV treatments, but has never taken biologics. From 2000 to 2008, Tony's psoriasis never spread beyond very minor psoriasis. It was stable at less than 10% coverage, just like his dad's. Tony wanted all the same things out of life as we all want: a family, children, a good career. And in 2007, Tony was persuaded to enter a clinical trial for Stelara, a new psoriasis drug by Johnson & Johnson. It worked. His mild psoriasis was reduced to nothing for a year. But in November 2007, Tony was forced to stop Stelara because of an abnormal EKG heart test. Then something happened. Now watch. The next 6 frames are what happened from February to June of 2008. Starting in January, his skin began tingling and burning. In February, his whole body erupted in small dots that looked like measles. From February to April, the spots grew and spread at an alarming rate. By May 1st, Therapeutics Research, the trial company, was called over 10 times, and 2 letters were sent with pictures, expecting them to get involved to document and study this phenomenon. But Tony received no replies. Tony filed his first online FDA adverse reaction report at that point. From April to May, the fevers and swelling forced Tony to the emergency room for the first time. Doctors started Tony on steroids in an attempt to slow his unprecedented reaction, but no doctor had ever seen anything like it. No one had a solution, and the drug study company was not talking. By May 1st, Tony has called the trial company over 10 times and had sent 2 letters with pictures expressing severe concern. He got no information and no follow-up care was offered as was promised when he entered the clinical trial. Doctors were scrambling to get information and to figure out what was going on, but they didn't get any information from Johnson & Johnson or from the clinical trial. By June 1st, Tony could no longer walk. His blood levels were showing levels similar to a severe burn victim. He was put on antibiotics and was hospitalized at Riverside County Medical Center for 7 days. By June 15th, Tony, who had only ever had mild plaque psoriasis on less than 10% of his body, had 6 different kinds of psoriasis on technically 100% of his body, including lesions that went inside his mouth, ears, eyes, genitals, and in his anus and colon. Tony was again rushed to Riverside County Medical Center, where doctors saw all of the patches grow together into one continuous full-body involvement. Despite requests and with no help or guidance from the trial companies, Riverside County doctors transferred Tony to UCSD Medical for burn unit treatment. The nurses initially had to squeeze IV bags of fluid into his veins to stem his dehydration. For the next month, with over 90% of his skin gone, Tony had to lie for 20 hours a day with towels wet with sterile saline, covering his entire body to keep his fever down and prevent shock and kidney failure from dehydration. This is a graph showing Tony's psoriasis disease on a curve from 2000 to 2013. He first got psoriasis in the year 2000 when he only got up to 10%. it stayed the same right up until the end of 2007 when he started the trial of Stelara. He started it here, it dropped to 0 for the year. Then when he quit, 2 months after he quit, it spiked to 100%. It basically stayed at 100, between 90 and 100% for almost a year. It did get a little bit better, but for the last 5 years, it's stayed between 65 and 75% coverage of his entire body. It's July 2013. Tony has lost everything. If you want to see the medical and legal facts, they are available. Tony's in bed. He's been bedbound for the majority of the last 4 years. He's dogged by continuous infections. He's in so much pain that he just wants to die at this point because the American medical, legislative, and justice systems show no sign of caring, responsibility, or compassion that might lead to any action or hope for a treatment and some kind of relief from the pain to give Tony any shred of dignity. We know that help is available from funds set aside for people adversely affected by drugs in the clinical trial process. He deserves this. We asked for the medical records and research information specific to Anthony's Stelara and clinical trials to be made available, but they never were. And this is what Tony lives with and lives like every day. A question. This is an ad from Stelara from 2012. The question is why, with over 6 years of solid clinical data from trials and real-world treatment, are the makers of Stelara advertising with the disclaimer, quote, "The safety and effectiveness of Stelara have not been evaluated beyond 2 years," unquote. What happens after 2 years? Well, I think I know the answer, but for now I need to keep my eye on the ball, and that's to save Tony's life. You should know that in 2012, Stelara sales were $1.02 billion, and the company brags that sales will be $2.4 billion by 2015. How can you help? Go to www.helpfortony.org. That's helpfortony.org. There are links there to a petition you can sign, and that would be helpful. There are also links to the U.S. Senate to whom you can send a letter on Tony's behalf, and that would be super helpful. We hope. If nothing happens by late fall, I'm going to Washington, D.C. to protest. I will do whatever is necessary to get attention to this issue. I'm printing this presentation on 24 by 36-inch posters to protest in front of the U.S. Capitol building. I will not let Tony die in vain. We all know that Congress does not move on the voice of just one or two. I need as much ammunition as possible to get Congress to move. Please help. Send Congress a letter demanding help for Tony, and please copy us so that we can collect and present hopefully thousands of letters to Congress, the President, and the press. Please help us save Tony. Thank you so much for your attention, and God bless you.